Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm bringing you another recipe in my series of traditional Irish recipes in honor of St. Patrick's Day. I'm super excited to show you what I have for you today. At the beginning of the year I made a list of all of the recipes that I wanted to share with you guys, and as soon as this one went into the calendar I've been counting down the days until the day that I can make this for you. I cannot wait to eat it. It's the ultimate comfort food. It's super delicious, it's super easy, it just takes a bit of time. I'm talking about a beef and Guinness stew. The ingredients that you're going to need are, you're going to need some nice chuck beef or stewing beef. I've cut mine in thicker chunks, that's just the way that I like it, and I feel that it holds up better as you're braising your beef. I also have some bacon here for flavour. We've got our vegetables, we've got some onions, carrots and celery. Again, my carrots and my celery are in quite big chunks because I want them to hold their shape as the stew cooks. For our braising liquid we have some Guinness, and I've got half and half beef and vegetable stock. You're going to need some olive oil, flour, garlic, some fresh thyme, freshly ground pepper, Bayleaf and salt for seasoning. And you're going to need a nice and big cast iron pot or heavy bottom pan, or stew is going to be cooking for roughly 2 hours. So you want something that's going to really retain the heat and help speed up the process and tenderize the meat and the vegetables. Our first step is to brown our beef. I've put my pot in a very high heat, but just to show you I have a little trick, because I'm using an induction hob as I'm browning my beef. It's probably going to want to splash everywhere. So I've put some parchment paper over my induction hob. It still works, it's still going to be heating up the pan, but then if there's any splashes or anything like that, I can just take the paper off and less cleaning for me. I'm going to go in with the oil and just give it a few minutes to heat up. In the meantime, I'm going to season my beef. A good few pinches of salt and the freshly ground pepper. The majority of our seasoning is going to go in now, so make sure you don't under season it. Just give everything a good mix. It looks like my oil has now come up to temperature, so I'm going to go in with my beef. You may want to do this in batches. You don't want to throw everything in together. If you put too much of your beef in there, it's going to drop the temperature right down of the pan, which means that you're not going to get the nice crusty outside of the beef. You're going to end up stewing your beef already, which is not what we want. We want to develop some flavor first. That's the sound you want to hear. We're looking for a bit of the charriness at the bottom of the pan, because that's where all the flavor is going to come from, but you don't want to burn it. I'm checking my pieces for color before I start flipping them around. You can see I'm getting my brown bits in my beef, so it's time to flip it. This is looking like it's ready now, so I'm going to take it out and put it into a plate just to hang out for a bit. I'm going to do the same with the rest of my beef, so I'll see you in a few minutes. I finished browning all of my beef, and now I just have it on a separate plate, resting until it's time to put it back into the pot. Also, a piece of advice, you may want to dab your beef a little bit, maybe with some kitchen roll, to try and remove some of the moisture away from it, because I found that it started releasing a lot of water, and water doesn't like to mix with oil, especially when it's hot, so it was kind of splashing everywhere and it gave me little burns while I was flipping my beef. So, learn from my mistakes. Okay, the next step is to put my onions into my pot, and I want to saute them a little bit. I'm going to add a bit of salt to help them release their moisture, and actually almost use the moisture from the onions to start deglazing my pan. My onions have been reducing for about 5 minutes. You can see they're getting nice and golden and a little bit translucent too. And with all the moisture that was released, you can see I've been able to scrape out most of the charry bits off the bottom of my pan, which is exactly what I want. That flavour is now in the onions and in the juices that they're releasing. My next step is to add in my bacon, and just to make sure that it also gets a bit brown, because it is really that charriness that gives you the depth of flavour. I'm going to make a little well in the centre and add my bacon in there just to make sure that it has direct contact with the bottom of the pan and doesn't just sit on top of the onions. Just give that a few minutes too, so it gets a bit brown. I can smell the bacon fat rendering down. It smells amazing. Right, we're almost there. Next I'm going to throw in my crushed garlic and saute for about a minute. Again, the garlic aroma mixed with the onions, mixed with the bacon. I could eat this right now, but it's only going to get better. I can no longer smell that raw garlic, so I'm going to go in with my veggies. My celery and my carrots. Give that all a good stir. Now that everything's mixed in, I'm going to go in with my flour. Mix it all in together. I want to cook away the raw flavor of the flour. You can see the flour is mixing in with some of my veggie juices and my bacon juices, and it's forming this kind of, it's almost like a roux on top of all of my vegetables. And this will give me an amazing nice thickness and creaminess to my stew. Next, it's time to go in with the beef. I don't know if you can see it, but it has released a lot of juice. Whatever you do, don't get rid of that. That has amazing flavor, and we want to add that into our stew. I'm gonna go in with my beef. My pot is getting quite full, but we're almost there. It's time for the star of the show, the Guinness. Put that all straight in there. Ooh. It's going to foam up nicely, as you can see. But then that's going to reduce right down, and it's going to give us such incredible depth of flavor. The smell is unreal. Next, I'm going to go in with my stock, just to cover my ingredients. You can see I have a ton left. That's not all going to fit into my pot, and that's fine. I really want the majority of the bracing liquid to be Guinness, and it's handy to keep this left over in case your stew reduces too much. You can add a little bit more stock into it and keep increasing those flavors rather than putting water and diluting the whole thing. I don't want that. Surprisingly, most of my stock went in. Let's see what happens. Everything is nice and covered. Now, for a final touch, we've got a few sprigs of thyme here, going straight in there. And I also have some dried bay leaf. This is gonna go in there. I'm gonna cover this up, bring it to boil, and then reduce it to a simmer, and then let it cook for a minimum 2 hours. Check it every 20 minutes or so, give it a bit of a stir, make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom, and just assess how your liquid levels are going. And again, if you feel that it's getting too dry, add a little bit more stock. I will see you in 2 hours. 2 hours seems like a long time, so in the meantime, I'm going to make some delicious Irish soda bread, which is going to go fantastic with my stew. For the recipe, check the card up here. Ding! My timer for my right just went off. Let's have a look. There it is. Let's do the test. Sounds pretty hollow to me. And by the time our stew is ready, our bread should be good enough for us to eat. There's about 30 minutes left on my stew. So I've peeled some potatoes and I put them to the boil because I feel the best way to have your beef and Guinness stew is with some creamy mash. My potatoes are nice and tender, so I'm going to go ahead and mash them. And to help them along, I'm gonna put in some butter as well as some cream. And this normally I do bit by bit, so I'm not going to put in too much liquid and making my mash too runny. It's up to you how thick or runny you want your mash to be. I added a bit of salt to the potatoes, but because the butter is already salted, I'm not really going to add any more now. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper to my mashed potato. If you don't like to see the specks, you could of course use white pepper. That's perfect. Looks like we're all set. Let me show you what the stew is looking like. This is my stew. I've already turned up the heat. Look at how rich the color is. Look at how much the sauce is thickened. My beef is nice and tender, and all of my veggies as well. You can see how chunky my celery and my carrots are. I love the different textures that you get, so for me this is absolutely perfect. I've got all my different bits ready. Let me plate this up. I'm so excited. Just gonna ladle a good bit of my stew in there. Make sure you get some beef, some veggies. That is perfect. Next, I'm going to go in with a good dollop of my mash right on the top. I'm going to take some fresh parsley and sprinkle it on top. And for the last bit, a slice of my soda bread. Buttered, of course. And what more could you want? I've waited long enough. I need to dig into this right now. Get a bit of my stew, some veggies, mash, and of course the beef. Oh my god, it's so much better than I could have expected. It's such a hearty meal. The flavor is absolutely delicious. It's so rich, you can taste a bit of the Guinness, and the beef is so super tender. Buttery mash is the perfect complement for it. And you can use your soda bread for dipping. I am a happy, happy man. That's it for this video. I really hope you like it. Please make sure you try this recipe. It is absolutely delicious. It does take a bit of time because you have to braise the beef for 2-3 hours, but it is so worth the wait. If you like this recipe, please make sure you subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below, and give it a thumbs up. With that, I leave you, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Or, Lo Fela Pork. I hope I didn't butcher that. Jesus. With that, I leave you for and happy St. Patrick's Day. Or La Fela Pork. Did I butcher that? Love Fela Pork. Love I can't say it. Okay. Love Fela Pork. Okay. Did that work?